Got it. Go.
Oh, we're back on?
Yes.
I don't know where I left off.
Okay. Start over.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on. We've had some technical difficulties. We apologize for that, but I think we've got that corrected now, so I can pick up basically where I left off. Again, my name is Jerry Michnewicz. I'm the host for this question and answer session. Feel free to communicate with us with questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. But first off, there's some acknowledgments that need to be made. We need to thank Mr. Williams from Scale Trains for sponsoring this session. We need to thank the NMRA, the National Model Railroad Association, for helping us out with this. Walt Lyles and the Piedmont Division and all the guys and gals there who help the pilgrimage each year, especially the 2020 pilgrimage, and I do recommend you look forward to next year's pilgrimage and view all the videos of the layouts in the Atlanta metropolitan area. There's some excellent layouts out there. We also want to acknowledge behind the camera Jim Foley and our production manager Tom Gordon. So we thank you for that. And now we can continue with the MNNYC. I call it Mitch's New York Central for the lack of a better title. I, as a kid out of high school, worked for the New York Central in the Detroit area. I was a tower operator. I worked the Henry Ford River Rouge Bridge that led into the Ford Motor Company plant, and I saw many lake freighters go through. I worked Whitey Tower, North Yard Tower, Wayne Tower, worked Ypsilanti as a clerk selling tickets, went to Ann Arbor. So the metropolitan Detroit area is my hometown. I have nothing prototypical on my layout here to that area except names of the places that I work. My most enjoyable, I guess, would be during the summertime. We worked crossovers and sweated a little bit sometimes, but the job was great. Writing train orders and such and watching all the fast freights go by, I really enjoyed that job. Worked for the chief dispatcher in the Michigan Central Depot. I was supposed to become a dispatcher, however, Vietnam started up, so I decided I better join the Air Force instead, which I never went back to the railroad. Now let's get back to my railroad here. This is my newest addition to this layout. Oh, and by the way, this layout was in Memphis, Tennessee, in my two-car garage, bolted to the wall. And I must say, for the new people that are contemplating railroading, think ahead, because one day you might have to move and you'll want to take your railroad with you. If you can't take it with you, that means a total destruction and you'll have to start all over. So this railroad was bolted to the walls in the garage. It was on hinges, and I could stand very comfortably and wire the whole thing from underneath and then drop the tables down. And it took about 20 minutes to do a setup, but we could run very comfortably. We're having another production problem over here. Let me go find out what's going on with this passenger train. It has stopped over here at the double crossover because it derailed, and we'll try to get that going in a moment. Bear with me, folks. I'll be right there. There we go. Now, oh yes, that sounds much better. Let's go. All right. That's the Wolverine out of Chicago headed for Detroit. I have an east and westbound main line, approximately 100 feet. I can run several trains, of course, at one time using Prodigy Advance. I really like Prodigy because of its simplicity. It does very well for me. I can run about 4 trains at one time.
That's good.
And when we have operating sessions, probably 6 guys come. We have a ball for about 2.5, 3 hours. And by the way, I'm really talking to the audience that are observers and newcomers to the hobby, as opposed to us older folks who have extraordinary layouts, because I'd be preaching to the choir. They know what this is all about. Modeling is such a great hobby because it takes in so many facets. It takes in carpentry, electricity, artistry. You have to really think about scenes and how they're placed, and it gives you an awareness of when you're out driving around looking at light posts and utility posts and seeing birds sit on a wire, and it makes you aware of a lot of things. So this is why model railroading is called the world's greatest hobby.
Jerry, you've got a really nice detailed street scene here. Tell us about how you did the telephone poles and the wiring, and how you did your sidewalks.
Okay, very good. I can do that. I would explain to you a moment ago about using E6000 that we can get mostly at Home Depot, and I'm sure you can get it at Michael's and Lowe's.
Point out some things.
It works very well with a utility pole. A little dab and a thread will make the scene look so much more authentic and professional. What I have a problem with is some of the beautiful photos that are published have poles with no wires on them. Now that doesn't really compute. So if you're going to submit a photo, make sure it's at least wired.
How do you do your sidewalks?
The sidewalks are, I'm going to give a little secret away here. If you want to pan over here, I can show you this.
Okay.
This is a sample tile from Home Depot. It's foam. It's about the right height for a curb. It looks like concrete. And if you look at my model over here, this is what I've been using, and it comes out very well. Just have to scribe in the concrete blocks so it looks like it's a sidewalk. Add some sewer drains. Add a few lines across the road to make it look like it's a stop and go type situation.
Sure.
The road bed is roofing tar paper. Works very well. It's just easy to work with and authentic. What else? You have another question maybe?
Looks like a lot of
No
LEDs.
questions coming in yet. Okay.
A lot of LEDs here.
LEDs. I use LEDs and I use incandescent lights. As the incandescent lights burn out, and they haven't yet, I have 12-volt bulbs on a 6-volt system. So on the other end of the layout there, it gives it that really nice spooky kind of glow, as we old timers can remember from street lamps at an intersection. The LEDs, of course, last forever, and if you want to put a little glow to it, you can always add a little touch of yellow paint right on the tip, and it takes the blue-white color and gives it a little bit more of a yellow glow.
And Jerry, what about these trees here? Some of them look like they're wild plants that you
Yeah,
colored?
they're right. They most of them are plastic, like these over here, and they come from where? China, of course. But these right here are things that grow in the backyard, and they make excellent I can't give you a name of the plant. I do not know it, but that's one of the things about the hobby. When you go out and walk about, you look at things like that and say, how can I use this on my layout? Well, that's what we discovered with these plants. They make excellent trees. Just a little bit of paint to give them some good color, and you've got a tree.
Let's go over to the oil depot over here. Jerry, how did you make this? How did you make the tanks for the consolidated petroleum oil depot?
These tanks are made from a PVC pipe from Home Depot. All I have to do is get some cardstock for the cap and save all the bits and pieces from kits, so you can make things like guardrails and access covers. Of course, at a installation like this, it's always protected with a high side curb, so if the tank does get a leak, it'll be contained. One of the things you look out for while you're out and about.
And how about the fence around there? That looks like screen wire.
The fence is screen wire. It's cut at an angle to represent the cyclone type fence. I do put a base to it because it will hold the wire in place a lot better than trying to build it on site. You can build something like that at your workstation and then just carry it over here and put it in.
Is it glue or is it soldered?
No, it's a piece of piano wire that is bent over and then secured into the table, and then the screen wire is just threaded through, so to speak.
A question about your backdrops, about how you planned those out and got all the perspective really well working into the layout.
Sure, because this is the Detroit area, a suburban setting as opposed to rural. We have the Great Lakes over here and the Detroit River, and it makes for an easy backdrop. It's foam, the 4x8 sheets of foam painted blue. I used to be able to get blue foam, but now you have to paint it. Sky blue water, that's Lake Michigan right over there with some lake freighters coming in to the Detroit River.
Is it a Canadian club? Is that on the Canada side?
That Canadian club were the silos that held the grain for whiskey being made in Canada. They're now gone. They don't exist anymore. It's a different kind of skyline. But yes, that in my day, that's what was there. We had 2 silos just about in place like they are up there with the lake freighters that would come in and unload.
And over there is Windsor. Yes, Windsor's right across the river from Detroit.
Oddly enough, you have to go south out of Detroit to get into Canada. You would normally think you'd go north. Okay.
Let's take a look at your
I have
yard over here.
everybody should maybe recognize that. That is the moon.
Very clever. Okay.
All right.
What do we have over here? Looks like a lot of handmade coal bins and conveyor.
Yeah, scratch-built coal bins. That's right. We can do a load here for the steam
Is
engines.
that all wood or styrene?
This is wood pieces. This station is scratch-built, all made out of wood. Of course, this is a kit.
We all recognize that kit.
Yes, everyone has one, I'm sure. Again, the poles are lit I've got transformers on the poles. The wires go to the buildings. The buildings are lit.
What are you using for wire?
We're using thread and a plastic material that is purchased from either Hobby Lobby or Michael's. It's what the kids use to make necklaces and wrist bracelets. It stretches, so you don't have to worry about, reaching in there and breaking something. Oddly enough, as many times as I've been on the pilgrimages in the past years, I've never had anybody break anything. I get a lot of pointing. Oh, look at this, look at that, but because of the flexibility of that, it stays intact.
You've got a lot of great detail here. These little guardrails on the side of the parking lot, is that metal or?
Yes, that's aluminum. I save the pie tins from when the wife buys a pie. I get the tin, I kind of scale it a little bit, put some scars and scratches in it, and I make a guardrail. What else have we got here?
What does the M and NYCRR?
Yep, that's the New York Central really never had orange engines. Those engines was a good buy. I didn't want to paint them. I wanted to keep them original. I just changed the name and put the MNNYC on it. I have several engines like that are of different colors and different road names, the Frisco and the L&N and such. But they now are on lease to the MNNYC.
Okay. So Jerry, here you've got what looks like maybe a scratch-built freight depot. Or no, that's General Mills Baker's Flour. That was scratch-built?
No, that's not scratch-built. It might be a little kit bashing there, but not scratch-built. The flour bags are made out of copper tube. These right here, a copper tube just cut and then painted, and they come out pretty much like a sack, a flour sack. Looks really good.
Then you have opaque plastic on inside the windows with light inside.
Yes,
very nice.
Yeah, I tried to light the buildings. It kind of makes it a little more authentic, more detail, an eye-catching type situation.
I was noticing one nice detail on your bridge here, and that's the railing, which looks like
very good.
Corrugated cardboard.
That is, what this is are political signs that no longer are in effect.
The yard signs. Signs, yeah.
So I collect a few, and it makes a good rail. It makes over here, if you swing around here, it makes a fascia. That's what I use for this. If you get them big enough, you could drop them down farther. But that's what I'm talking about when it comes to modeling. You got to think about how you can use material that isn't used for what it was meant for. How you can apply it to your railroad. Let's look over here. Let me go around. Right here. Let's talk about this a little bit. If you can reach the camera over here.
Oops. You get a question if you could possibly turn the lights out and see the nighttime view of the layout. You don't know how the video works.
Absolutely, we can do that. Let me explain this real quick.
Okay.
Here's some pine bark that makes excellent rock formations. Can be colored a little bit. Added some ground foam, and it comes out looking really, really good. Okay, I had a request to turn the lights out. We can do that. And by the way, I want Jim to pan over here. My airplane. We're going to talk about this a little bit. I've got the NMR biplane up there pulling a sign. Let me go over here and start it. And I'll turn the lights out at the same time. I have, my passenger cars are lit. I got to give Dr. Joe Nichols Senior credit for that. He's the one that showed me how to make that system work. All right, nighttime. We have downtown Dearborn here, where I was born and raised. I lived a short distance from the Ford Motor Company motor plant. I used to, as a kid, jump the fence and run around Henry Ford's property and see the deer that he had as pets on his land. Very close to the Greenfield Village. If you've been there, in the Henry Ford Museum, it's worth a trip to Dearborn just to see that. The lights in the caboose. And the train type lights there. We've got the flashers work as the train approaches the road. That train has already passed, but I use infrared sensors for the road flashers. I make most of my own road signals.
How do you make the road signals? What are they made from?
Well, they're a copper tube using an LED and a micro switch that is connected to the switch.
Jerry, can we turn this off? How do we turn off? There's a lot of noise on
okay, right there, that switch right there will turn the airplanes off.
It's going in the microphone input.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of background noise because I have some engines running over there. All my engines have sound in them, so you might get a lot of feedback off of that. Let me go turn the lights back on.
Okay, lights coming back.
Okay, let me talk about a little bit about operations. We do operate, and I have a switch list of where to pick up and where to deliver, what engine to get, what caboose to get, and what route to take. And each industrial area is also tagged with a map to make it so much easier for the one operating, the conductor and the engineer, to find out where they have to drop off and what spot to drop off in. I'm hoping that's picking that up. Am I centered okay on that?
You can bring it a little closer to the camera. You just hold it still.
Closer to the camera.
It should autofocus. That's
good.
good. That's good right there.
Good. And then
That's good.
the switch list. It takes about 2.5 hours to do a complete run. My own design here on the way to do things. Everybody has maybe waybills and such, but I just have a switch list. I don't know if you can pick this up because of the light, but maybe you can see that. I have all my cars, instead of using the car number, like that number right there, which is for us older folks pretty difficult to see, I number the car with a letter or number in the upper left-hand corner on both sides. So that car is identified as a gondola F, GF. And then a box car would be a B1, or a flat car, an F2. It makes it so much easier, it's bigger to see, and
But Jerry, I notice some of your switches are thrown manually and some are thrown with toggle switches.
yes.
What's this
Yeah.
manual? How do you do this manual? Is that push-pull or turn?
Yeah, it's push-pull. I have a sample right here, but these are push-pull. The reason I had the push-pull versus electric is because this part of the table, shelf, if you will, I could do a rod to do the switches. When it was up against the wall, of course, on a hinge, I couldn't do a rod. I had to make them electric. So, here's the way I did it. The push-pull, can you see that okay?
Closer.
The push-pull also controls the signal. And this is what it looks like underneath.
Bring it in. Closer.
Hold it still.
Okay. The dowel on some piano wire on a micro switch, and that's basically it. Now I do have a kit-made flashing unit for the grade crossing, of which I do not have hooked up, but that's also scratch built, copper tube, plastic base, copper. I bought a sheet of copper and cut out the what do you want to call that? The target, and printed my own railroad crossing
Bring it real close.
sign.
So you built this crossing signal from scrap parts.
From scratch parts, yeah.
You're a real craftsman. That's why you're an MMR.
Well, I guess. And then, of course, the can you pick up on the switch stand? That's also scratch built. That's some jewels from Hobby Lobby or Michael's. The base of that is made from a piece of solder, heavy duty solder, and I had a scrap throw bar that I glued to that. How about that?
Very nice.
Okay. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Dwarf signals, like I say, the hobby is such a grand hobby that you try to make everything yourself. For the new people in the hobby, of course, space is the biggest factor. You can start out small and always want to go bigger, so and a railroad is never complete. You always want to be adding on or redesigning or making. It's a lot of fun, folks. A lot of fun. Any more questions?
We're not getting questions coming in, but I have some more questions for you.
Okay, let's swing around here and I'll show you.
We'll swing right around here.
Yes.
I'm looking at all the detail here. We have the lights are flashing at the moment on the crossover.
Right.
There's the trains going by, and some welding flashing in the shop back behind.
Correct. And in the background there, the Michigan Alkali Company, the tanks I made out of toilet paper rolls.
And how about the rocks here in the middle between these two tracks?
That is foam, just carved, scarred, and marred. And then I painted painted them white acrylic, and on top of that white acrylic, I did black, and just worked it in and worked it in and worked it in some more, and it came out looking like that.
And is this, in the pond here, is this an alligator or a crocodile?
Either one, just don't get your finger too close to it. It's one of the things that I have on the layout for the kids to look for when they come and walk around. You know, it's funny. The ladies and the girls will spend a lot of time at a scene and look it over and just take it all in, where the guys mostly will look at it and move on. The ladies want to stay the longest, the guys want to leave the quickest. So I'm really happy when the ladies come with the guys to the open houses.
And then you have these flying airplanes over here, with one airplane has behind it, join NMRA today.
Yeah. I'm probably the only one in the area that might have an airplane that flies over as layout. I use 2 bicycle wheels on a rotisserie motor, and it works very well. It's a kind of a novelty, and it gets a lot of wows.
Another nice little detail I see is down here on the power lines, it's covered with pigeons.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know, I had a comment, a question about that a while back on my first session. Somebody asked me, how do I keep those pigeons upright on that wire? Well, I use that E6000 glue. You first have to secure the wire so it doesn't spin, and then the rest is easy. A little dab will do on the bottom of the bird, and you stick it on that wire, and there they stay.
It looks like your scrap metal here is real scrap metal from a machine tool.
It is. It's from a friend of mine who worked in a machine shop and gave me a big old box of that, and it's really authentic. Now, scan down on this guy, the worker, the employee in the yard there. He is had to go. If you gotta go, you gotta go.
Is this real sand in the dump truck that you
Oh yeah.
glued in place?
Mm-hmm. Everything is well, that's real sand, as a matter of fact. And you know where I got that sand from? Panama City Beach.
Panama City on vacation.
On vacation, that's correct. Scratch built REA building. Fence scratch built, of course. Let's see, what else is scratch built on there? The utility poles. This is Ypsilanti, by the way.
Who's Ralph Miller or scrap metal?
Well, Ralph Miller is a good buddy of mine from Memphis, Tennessee. His dad was in the business, and I named a scrapyard after Ralph Miller.
How about Robert Books?
That's
that
my
another
dad.
friend?
That's my dad. Robert's
Oh.
Books. That's my dad.
Very nice.
Yeah. If you look down Main Street here in Dearborn, I have a little situation occurred. Guys under the truck, traffic has stopped. People are waiting to move, which they can't right now. And that's what I like about stopping traffic as opposed to putting an automobile on the highway and assuming that it's doing 50 miles an hour, and actually nobody behind the steering wheel too. So guys out there, if you put an automobile on the highway, put somebody behind the steering wheel. Over here we got Lee Ferris Block Ice House. Scratch built. My real first attempt, and it came out pretty good. And by the way, no plans, no drawings, no dimensions. All I do is keep the 1/87th in mind for the scale, and sit down at my workbench and start building. The whole layout is also built that way. No plans, no drawings. I lay track and go from there. If I need to place a building, I find a piece of property somewhere on the layout and adapt it. Scratch build it, kit bash it, whatever it takes to fit that piece. Over here, I don't know how much cord you have, but maybe you can come down here a little bit. Okay. All right, we're coming
Okay.
in.
Jerry, thank you very, very much. This is a great session. For all of those watching, remember there's much more Piedmont Pilgrimage to come. There are videos being released tomorrow and the following week. We look forward to having you join us for other Q&A sessions. and watch all of the great Piedmont Pilgrimage tours. Thanks.
And
That's all for now.
And I want to thank you guys
And Jerry,
for coming
thank you.
by and doing this. And yes, watch all the videos and live and learn. Thank you very much, folks.
Hand over to one of the
That's
buildings.
right.